Welcome to the Jill on Money Show. It is Saturday, February 5th, and let's just get it out there. The job market's on fire. The labor market stomped on that Omicron variant. I know we were expecting it to be a strange number, maybe a weak number, but January, the economy added 467,000 new jobs. The unemployment rate, it just ticked up slightly to 4%. And you know what? There was kind of good news all over this report. Labor force participation, the number of people entering into the workforce, at the highest level since March of 2020. The January number also had revisions to all of the previous year's reports, all of 2021. These benchmark revisions indicate that sometimes when you get very happy about a jobs report, it gets revised lower, and other times it gets revised higher. For example, June and July, summer, we had downward revisions. We didn't have 1 million jobs each month. We had 807,000 fewer than initially reported. But then last year, November, December, we had weaker than expected readings. Those were revised higher by a total of 709,000. Here's your bottom line, gang. There were more jobs created than we originally thought last year. Average monthly job creation, 555,000 in 2021. And guess what? The labor force is now about 1.5 million higher than previously thought. That means we're not that far below our pre-pandemic level. Okay, hourly earnings up by 5.7% annually. Listen, this is a number I think that is going to change. We've got to try to get the numbers that are higher so we get people filling these empty jobs. But I think you take this report with the job opening and labor turnover survey report earlier in the week, and you know what you get? You get a strong labor market. And that means that we have wage growth. We have the number of people resigning voluntarily or quitting. That's at an elevated level. And job openings are at an elevated level. I don't think there's any way to think about this other than this is a very good labor market. Now, of course, the Fed is going to have to concentrate on raising interest rates in order to meet the very real fear that we are seeing inflation take hold in the economy. So they're going to do that. So enjoy it. One Labor Department report down for 2022, 11 more to go. This weekend, we have a great two-part interview with my friend Jeff Bakalar. So I love Jeff. I met him when he was at CNET, and he was hosting a podcast called The 404, and that's where I became Aunt Jill. So Jeff and his colleagues would ask me financial questions, and then they said, come on the show with us. And I started to do a lot of stuff with him. Jeff has left CNET, and he has now gone full bore into gaming, which is really his love. And so he works for a company called Giant Bomb. He is head of content development and strategy, and he's a big shot now. But anyway, Jeff is great. Why are we bringing him on this weekend? Because I know nothing about gaming, and I most certainly know nothing about the metaverse. And so that's why I thought Jeff would be great and instructional, help us understand what we need to know. I will speak for the old farts out there. I don't get this. But I don't want to be one of those old farts who's like, that's stupid, instead of really copping to the fact that I don't get it. So that's why we're going to let Jeff educate us. Okay, gang? Here is the first part of our interview with Jeff Bakalar. Jeff, you are in the part of the world right now that we need to pick your brain. Okay. So first of all, there have been some huge deals that have gone on that really put gaming in the spotlight. Is gaming where the excitement is around the next iteration of our technological advances?
I think it's a big part of it. It has a majority share of that momentum, and it has for a while. I just think a lot of lines are starting to blur, and when most people take a look at this and they try and understand it in a way that they are familiar, it always sort of defaults back to video games being the driving force for all this. So when you see these, massive acquisitions like, Microsoft taking up Activision Blizzard, it is obviously driven by games and gaming first and foremost. What the sort of like aftershocks of that kind of deal look like, we'll have to sort of wait and see. We have a lot of predictions about what that's going to look like. But yes, I think games has been and has been for many decades the first and foremost form of preferred entertainment for a huge demographic. And I think it's starting to catch up in a way that if you are somehow have your finger on the pulse of contemporary entertainment, it is impossible to have that conversation without gaming being the first thing you bring up. It eclipses pretty much every other entertainment medium around.
Yeah, and I want you to just speak to that a little bit in that some of the numbers are kind of daunting. How much money does this industry really make? I mean, I feel like gaming, people don't understand it. Like old farts like me don't understand until I heard this stat, which is like gaming is making so much money as an industry that it like blows away so many other forms of entertainment, like movies, for example. So how lucrative is it?
It's crazy. Think about what Disney spent on Marvel, right?
Yeah.
For that deal. I think it was like $4 billion.
Yep.
Just for Marvel. And, this deal comes around last week and it is just so many times that and that's just for one publisher. I mean, it really is this wildly huge and international phenomenon, right? It is not just, completely exclusive to the United States. Gaming is everywhere. It is a universal language, and it is the thing that commands the attention of the majority of people aged, 6 to 50. That is who is attracted to this sort of thing. And beyond that, I think I remember when PlayStation 4 was first coming out, Sony used to love this talking point that their average customer was 40 years old. And that was in 2012, around then when PlayStation 4 came out. I think it was 2014 maybe. It covers everything. It transcends all demographics. It is this universal thing without a doubt.
So just if you guys weren't keeping track of this, Microsoft paid almost $69 billion for Activision Blizzard.
That's it. just a little 69 bill, no problem.
Rounding error, no biggie.
In 2009, Disney bought Marvel for $4 billion. And you think Marvel, you're like, oh my God, they bought all that X-Men and Spider-Man and all that. And then this comes along and it just dwarfs it. It's unbelievable.
And then, and that came right after Take-Two Interactive paid almost $13 billion to buy Zynga.
Right, which was a very shocking amount of money. And, of course, held the very temporary title of being the largest acquisition in games. And then
for 5 minutes.
So
let me ask you this. It's one thing to say, oh, I'm playing a game on my phone, which, obviously I get that. So can you talk a little bit about, how it has evolved from playing on a console to playing on your phone to now playing in this alternate universe known as the Metaverse? What is this all about?
Well, let's tap the brakes with the Metaverse for a second, or just that word, just for a second, because there's a lot to answer with the first part of the question. So, games obviously has evolved out of the arcades into the home console world, and now in the very online connected world. And once consoles, had Ethernet ports on them and Wi-Fi radios in them, that was sort of the cat getting out of the bag there a little bit. We've now, gone from playing with your friends online all over the world, speaking with them, and now we're in a place where we are streaming games, and there are personalities that cultivate a following and an audience on platforms like Twitch, where they have an interactive community that watches them play video games live, which is a huge, in my opinion, still underappreciated / valued part of the landscape as it exists right now. So that is the sort of trajectory that the connected world of online gaming has taken. Now, I balked a little bit when you brought up the sort of metaverse thing, because the metaverse, or the idea of the metaverse, just to be clear, the metaverse is not like a tangible thing or even an idea that anyone can coherently and completely / thoroughly explain. It is more just a concept than an actual thing. Gaming is just a really small slice of that bigger pie of what people mean when they say the word metaverse. Metaverse is a very difficult thing for people to wrap their heads around because it is not really a thing in itself. It is a catch-all phrase that is used to describe a hyper-connected virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality sort of world that doesn't really cohesively exist anywhere. I think it's a really shiny sort of object for, VCs to put on their PowerPoint presentations and kind of say like, yeah, I've got a metaverse strategy. Like this is where all the money's going. And in a lot of ways, that's kind of its purpose at the moment, is to kind of raise capital and get people excited about a thing that no one, universally understands. Mm-hmm. At its core, when you talk about metaverse, it is basically the convergence of all of these connected little singular items coexisting on a universal platform. So when I say that, I know that's such a vague and ridiculous explanation, but that is really what people are talking about. It is basically finding the common ground with people's online presence, whether that is your presence in video games, in shopping, in all of your online social interactivities, right? All your social platforms. Is there a way to make all of these moving parts fall in sync together and be basically like the virtual reality version of yourself? And that's kind of what people are reaching towards when they discuss something like the metaverse.
Mark, did you understand that?
No, I'm trying to stop my head from spinning.
I know, me too.
Don't let it spin too hard, because to be completely honest with you guys, a lot of it is sort of fluff. Facebook changes their name to Meta, right? And all of a sudden it changes the way the world looks at these types of, virtual spaces. So like I said, there really is no bulletproof definition for what the quote unquote metaverse is, but it is a convergence of dozens of ideas.
If I am thinking about this, and when someone says, oh, it's the metaverse, like you put your headset in and like you're not immersed in a game, but you're immersed in a workplace. I don't really get that. Like I really don't, because I'm trying to figure out when someone says, this is how we're going to have meetings. This is virtual meetings. How does that differ than being like on a Zoom? Like what's happening that's different? I have an avatar that says, here's Jill in her, in her radio wear, not in her TV wear, and is in the same, but like I'm choosing what I want to look like. I have this thing, I'm in a meeting, and what am I doing? Am I wearing a headset, some sort of VR headset of some sort? Like what's happening for me?
I think the easiest way to understand it, from the point of view that you just described, is right now we touch the quote unquote metaverse in a dozen different ways. The problem is that it's all fragmented. You have Twitter, you have a Zoom presence, you have Discord, you have YouTube, you have all these different sort of platforms. The metaverse kind of is this utopian convergence of all of these things, where there is somehow a magical way that all of these things stop being so off-platform and fragmented and somehow coexist in harmony. That is really like the sort of idea that some people float when it comes to talk about the metaverse. So it's not really a thing that will one day just come out. It's not like a product. It's not something that is being worked on and will one day just launch. It is the idea that every platform will have its own sort of integrated universe that is not where you have to log into a thing or sit down and turn an application on and run a program, right? It is the blurring of the line for a lot of your interactivity with stuff and making things feel less engaged and more natural. Because right now everything is very fragmented. You have to log in and out of things. You have to keep track of 1,000 different passwords. You have, I do think like 50 years from now, we will look back. Well, we won't, but there will be people who look back and they say, oh my God, the internet was such a mess. Like, how did they do it? How did they deal with all that stuff? And I think when you hear terms like metaverse, you hear terms like Web3, it is this almost intangible future that we are trying to grasp for, where like everything just works. And right now, spoiler, not a lot of stuff just works. It's sort of there, and it's great if it works, but not everything works maybe the way we wished it would.
Well, thank you so much to Jeff. We'll have our second part of our interview tomorrow. And we want to remind you that if you've got a question, maybe it's about the metaverse. I doubt it. Let's be honest. But if it's about your financial life or how it's going to be managed in the metaverse, then you can give us a holler. Just go to jillonmoney.com, click the Contact Us button, which is in a beautiful blue box, and you can get to us. And on the form, when you fill that out, you'll see there's a little box at the bottom. It says, would you come and appear on the program? Just check yes if you would like to. Mark does the rest. While you're there, please sign up for our free weekly newsletter. And if you don't subscribe to our sister broadcast, Eye on Money, you can also do that on our website. Very easy to do. Okay. As always, just do something nice for someone else today. It's going to make that person feel a lot better. You're going to feel a lot better. And remember that we like to practice a mantra here. Here it is: grit, growth, and grace. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you tomorrow.